think the biggest issue in our videos is coming in from the upbeat music in our intro to someone like me at a much lower energy level talking about cloud. It reminds me of that famous Casey Kasem clip where he was upset at his producers for doing the same thing to him.
See, when you come out of those up-tempo goddamn numbers, man, it's impossible to make those transitions, and then you got to go into somebody dying. You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for, but goddamn it, if we can't come out of a slow record, I don't understand it. Is Don on the phone? Okay, I want a goddamn concerted effort to come out of a record that isn't a fucking up-tempo record every time I do a goddamn death dedication. Now, make it, and I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week. This is last goddamn time. I want somebody to use his fucking brain to not come out of a goddamn record that is, that's up-tempo, and I got to talk about a fucking dog dying.
Anyways, I digress. Before we get into the disadvantages of cloud, let's ask an important question. What did the cloud do for us? To give an answer, cloud gave us nothing more than the ability to purchase compute in smaller increments than what was possible before. Still speaking super high level here, but the cloud is like connecting your home to municipal water. Pay by the gallon, works great for a household, but you may get clobbered if you try to water an entire farm using municipal water. If you own a farm, you may need to dig your own well and maintain it yourself. So if you currently use 50 racks of hardware to run IT, you don't really need to buy in small increments unless this environment can scale back to almost nothing during off-peak hours. Imagine taking your legacy database that requires about a terabyte of RAM and running it at a gig of RAM. That would probably lead to bad things. While this video covers the disadvantages of cloud computing, don't despair because we'll have the advantages of cloud computing video coming up soon. So let's get started with disadvantage number one. If you're managing your public cloud environment using the native console of that public cloud, there's quite a bit of vendor lock-in if you ask me. Take for instance Azure. The steps required to move virtual instances out of Azure are many. You cannot just export your virtual instances even if you move it to a Hyper-V environment. While we're still talking about portability and vendor lock-in, take for instance AWS. You can export your virtual instances, but there are many exceptions that will stop you. This list is so long that I'll just post it to the screen, and thanks to TechGenix for their write-up of the exceptions that are on that list. At this time, there's probably some of you throwing things at the screen saying, no one manages these instances using the console native to AWS or Azure, because you've pulled the management of that environment into some enterprise orchestration app that gives you a single pane of glass type of management. While single pane of glass management apps make this way better, it's usually the largest of enterprises using these tools. Many of our mid-market clients are still using the actual console. Also, I didn't mean to pick on just AWS and Azure, just some relatable examples out there, but enough about portability and vendor lock-in as we move into disadvantage number two, instance sprawl. It's easy to scale instances up in most cloud environments, but there's usually very little that pulls those instances back down when your workload decreases. Some clouds just don't go back down. Others can be brought back down, but to automate this is tricky. We hear the word elastic, we think of snapping back like a waistband, but it's more like a ratchet. It only ratchets outwards and it's locked in a single direction. If we remember the troubles of the world before cloud, we complained about underutilization and building to peak because we feared getting clobbered during heavy times of the year, such as holiday season. Going into disadvantage number three, legacy scaling issues. A traditional three-tier architecture is usually more expensive to run in the cloud. This is a topic that needs its own video, so I won't go into details, but quickly, if you can't scale your database for performance, not failover, you are relegated to massive database instances that require terabytes of RAM to run. To get your database into a public cloud with the required IOPS, you may need to order a physical server in public cloud. So now you're basically back to private or hybrid cloud with costs that come along with that. Also, physical servers are not elastic. Moving on to disadvantage number four, I think when we initially were exposed to the cloud, we expected a lot of native advantages that would come with it that gave us a false sense of security. So I have three of these false sense of securities, but since we're numbering our disadvantages, I'll use letters for this subcategory. I'll start with 4A. The cloud isn't inherently more or less secure, but sometimes we feel that there's an included added layer of security in there, but there's not. 4B, there's no inherent disaster recovery by moving to the cloud. While virtualizing instances seemingly makes them more portable, virtualization isn't something exclusive to the cloud, and again, there's still no built-in DR. For C, while perhaps enabling better DevOps strategy because of internet marketplace integrations, the cloud doesn't come with its own DevOps built in. Anyway, moving on to disadvantage number 5, it deals with billing formats. The billing formats from cloud providers appear to be set up for maximum transparency, letting you know of every second of compute from a variety of products. But I find these aren't human readable, and so after a while, I find that you need software to really analyze your bills. Finally, disadvantage number 6, with public cloud, we are in still somewhat uncharted territory. Outside of modern coded applications, there's no super clear applies to everyone best practice for public cloud just yet. In the enterprise, we got to a point where we had a good vision of what best practice looked like between blade servers, good hypervisors, and super fast storage, but with the cloud, there are many ways to deploy. In conclusion, this video isn't to disparage public cloud, but we need to outline that public cloud is not a panacea and that enterprises with non-born-on cloud applications need to take particular care before making this major move. Anyway, stay tuned as we're working on a really good video about the advantages of cloud computing that should be out soon. Until next time, thank you for joining me once again.